Orah with the stories of Bereshit to tell that who has the sole rights of the land of Israel? And he gave it to the Jewish people, and why we belong to the land of Israel. When we're reading now chapter 36 about the generations of Asav, and all of a sudden, anticlimactic, as if in the middle of this chapter about all his family and wives and children and grandchildren, what he's taking, oh, by the way, he left the land of Canaan. We will be able to understand, maybe through this issue here, how this contributes to our understanding that Yaakov Avinu and his seed, the Jewish people, they only and only they have the rights, the real historical Tanakhic rights to the land of Israel. How do we see this? Gentlemen, at the beginning of chapter 36, when we read the first, there are 8 psukim that open up this 43 verses. And first we learn the names. How many wives does it say at the beginning of this chapter? 3 wives, 5 kids. Do you see that? That are born to Esav in the land of Canaan. There's a message here. There's a message here. Okay? The message we're beginning to learn, let's go back to Ishmael. Did he merit to have a permanent place in the land of Israel? Ishmael, no. Esav, no. For the reasons we're told, Ishmael went very far away in his way of life from the house of Avraham Avinu and his brother Yitzchak. Remember though, Ishmael had a special mother. Who? Hagar, an Egyptian mother. That's Egyptian ideology, beliefs, culture. Okay? We can understand the separation between Ishmael and Yitzchak, that he's leaving the dynasty of Avraham Avinu because he comes from a mother who's less important. She is Tfela, secondary to Sarah Imenu. And therefore, Ishmael being the seed of Hagar, Ishmael, will not get a permanent place in the land of Israel. But Esav is not the case. Esav, like Yaakov, is born from the same mother. Okay? Born from the same mother. So we have a difficulty. Why not are the children of Esav included in the spiritual inheritance of the land of Israel, the inheritance of Avraham and Yitzchak? Maybe here in verse 2 in this chapter that you're looking at, it states, Esav lakach et nashav from who? Mibnot Cana'an. Who told me beautifully the word cursed? Arur. Maybe the Torah is telling us now at this chapter, Esav does not have a permanent place in the land of God in Eretz Yisrael because he went up against what his father doesn't want, to marry women that are cursed. Okay? Do you remember? Remember the scene? Avraham is talking to his servant. Don't tell me his name. His name is not even mentioned there. And he's swearing him by the God of heaven and the God of the land that you do not take a wife from my son Yitzchak from the daughters of Canaan. Can't do that. Not allowed to do that. Like you said, Baruch and Arur are opposites. Gentlemen, regarding the wives of Esav, we run into a problem because in Parashat Toldot, there are certain names and they don't match the names by us. Okay? When you look at chapter 26 and verse 34, we see 2 women that he marries that are from the seed of Chet. Chet in plural are the which people? Chitim. Okay? Okay? Here we see by us in our chapter, one is a Chitit and the other is a Chivit, 2 different Canaanite nations. If you want to get into the answers why the different names, the Rashbam gets into these matters. I don't want to touch upon it right now. However, when we're learning about the family here, okay, we're going to learn more about the family soon. So the first 5 psukim here in our chapter, we learn about the wives and the children. And now in verse 6, what we read before, we shift to a new subject. Okay? We now learn an announcement. Hear ye, hear ye. By the Lord of the God of the world. Okay? We learn about a surprising and important announcement. Esav leaves. Goodbye, Asav. Goodbye, Asav. We love to see you go. Gentlemen, when we look back, and I'm happy you mentioned Lot, there were those here in the book of Bereshit that could litigate, prosecute, and charge that we belong to the land of Israel, at least partially. However, his supervision in the world allowed the circumstances that each of those that could say it belongs to me or part of it went away out of his choice. Okay? And he left someone else to have it. Okay? And the Torah tells us each place. Let's start with Lot. Lot, the nephew of Avram Avinu, was with his uncle for all these years as an orphan, adopted. He takes him to Eretz Yisrael. They go down to Mitzrayim. They come back. Avram becomes very wealthy. Lot gets a blessing, becomes very wealthy. Yet Lot sees that the grass is greener over there in the Jordan Valley, Bikat HaYarden. And he goes east, and there's a separation. Quote, Vayipardu ish me'al achiv. A separation. Okay? My father brings it in a very, very clear way. And the scripture there says, no. Did Avram go live with him? No. Avram remained to live in the land of Canaan. In contrast, Lot is living in the cities of the Jordan Valley, and he becomes so wealthy that his tents go all the way down south to the city of Sodom. Example number 1, Lot left major or central part of the land of Canaan. Example number 2 is Yishmael, the son of Avram. Yishmael is the brother of Yitzchak. He left also. If you see in chapter 21, he has to be nomadic. He has to live with the camels in the desert areas. He lives and settles in the Paran desert. Okay? And then we learn about his children, that they're spread out all from Egypt to shore. And he's not in the land of Israel. He left. That's what he wanted to do. He says, I have no shayachut. I don't belong to the land of Canaan. What was the name of the wife that Avram married after Sarah passed away? What? Keturah. Keturah. Rashi says it's Hagar, but let's just leave, let's say the name Keturah. They have children. They're the sons of Avram Avinu, yes or no? Do they have a right to the land of Israel? No. Avram gives them gifts. Says, Lihitraot. And where did they travel? Eretz Kedem, to the east. I don't know if they arrived to India or not. I'm not sure exactly how east, where they went. But they're not in the land. That's what they want. They took their gifts and got. We don't see them anymore. And now, we're learning about the descendants of Yitzchak Avinu. 2 twins, although very different from one another. Okay? And we are curious to know, will Esav charge, demand, or take a part of the land of God, the land of Israel? Maybe this chapter is telling us, and we see here in verse 6, by his own volition. Let's read it again. In Pasuk 6 of chapter 36, Esav takes his wives, his kids, his daughters, all the servants in his family, all done out of his own will. No one is forcing him away. He takes all his possessions. He could have been living between Hebron and Beersheba. That's where Abba was living. And here it's being very clear that Esav understands by himself that I don't belong to the land of Israel. I don't belong to the land of Israel. The Torah tells us, and we have certain questions, some of you raised them, in verse 6, Aleph, Vayishlach el Eretz, and the Torah does not tell us which. Question 2, Mipnei Yaakov Achiv. That's interesting. This is the reason stated here, because of Yaakov, his brother. Very interesting. Is this the same type? But we see in verse, was it 7? We see a different reason, that they can't get along as far as their amount of possessions. The gentleman, Nitai, standing on and leaning on the stender, New Hebrew word, says it's the same reason regarding Lot. True and not true. Why? If you understand or read carefully what is stated by Lot, we see a change in the order. We see a change in the order. Here, the order is different. First, here, by us, the reason is written, the decision of Esav to leave the land, and then immediately after, the reason for leaving the land. But by Lot, we're told the opposite. This is the circumstance, and now Lot left the land. What can we learn from this change? Maybe we can learn the same idea, that the possessions, that they can't get along together, is mishni, secondary, is subordinate, is a second reason, or maybe an excuse to the outside world. And there, in the foundation of his decision, of Esav's decision, why to leave, there are other reasons. And maybe that's hinted in those 3 words in verse 6, Mipnei Yaakov Achiv. Because of Yaakov, his brother. So here, I share with you 3 understandings that can be found in the Midrash. Okay? And this, we can learn other reasons why he's leaving. Number 1, the Midrash says he's afraid of Yaakov Avinu and his kids. He heard, it was written in the London Times, in the incident of Shechem. Wow, I got to get out of here. These guys, they're heavyweights. They're more than heavyweights. Number 2, another reason the Midrash says why Esav left, because he's embarrassed that he sold the Bechorah to Yaakov, according to some, for that pot of soup or whatever, and for that he left his ability to inherit the land of Israel. The Bechorah is not just obligations and privileges, it's also including the right of the land of Israel. But third and most important, I'm saying humbly, is that Esav knows that the land of Israel was given to the seed of Avram Avinu in the covenant of the pieces, with an obligation that we're going to be away for 400 years in a land which is not ours. Esav says, I'm not interested being in this galut. I don't want to be in a galut for such a long time. I give up. I'm a now person. Hamburgers now, peace now, soup now. Everything is now. I'm not a vision. I'm not a man with a vision. Conveyed a little savla. No, I don't have that. And therefore, we're basically told here, gentlemen, that these are the things that helped him convince Esav. He left on his own volition. He understands. By the way, what about living together? Let's build a cooperative, a co-op. It's clear Esav offered it to Yaakov to live with him together in Eretz Edom. I'll come at my own pace. Yaakov is not interested. I think the coin went down. He understands, Esav understands that Yaakov is not interested to live together with Esav. We can understand for reasons of assimilation, different cultures, educations, and so on and so forth. So maybe as we're ending today's shiur, when it says that he's leaving to an Eretz, he's been living there already for a while in Eretz Edom. And now he brought the moving company. And he's moving all his items. He's leaving Eretz Canaan to go to another land to settle in the mountain of Seir, as it says in verse 8. Clearly, do you see that? Vayeshev Esav behar Seir. So it could be that he's going to the Eretz. Which Eretz? Which has already been found. He's been living there a while back there, and so on and so forth. And we're going to end today's shiur because the Torah tells us that who Edom. We're noticing he is Edom. And this is mentioned many times in our psukim. And maybe we're learning about his identity. We're learning about his culture. Remember later on when Moshe and Bnei Israel captured the land of Israel, Eastern Eretz Israel, we're learning about a nation that's coined the Edomite Nation. And we're learning, you know what? We're not allowed to go to war against Edom. It's his. It belongs to Esav. And if someone becomes a ger and wants to join the Jewish people, remember, he's your brother. And when the Jewish people are traveling in the 39th and 40th years to the desert, and Edom came out against us to go to war, we're not allowed to even fight them. And we're told later we're not allowed to provoke them, be provocative to them. Why? Esav has his own country. It belongs to them. It's not ours. So the final story is here. Yaakov Avinu, he will be inheriting the land of Israel and his seed. Esav decides, like Ishmael decided, and like others decided, that they don't want to be, they understand it's not their place. And today, in our educational dreams, we have to educate ourselves to understand that this land was given to us by God, and we're the seed of Yaakov Avinu, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It belongs to us. If non-Jews want to live here politely, recognize us, respect our sovereignty, respect our rights, even if they don't have equal rights, fine. If not, there are ships that are leaving the Jaffa port every day, and there are planes that are leaving. They don't have to be here. And if they want to act with violence, then we have to show them what violence means, what war means, and they don't have to be here. Amen. Ken Yiratzon, Mizrat Hashem.